Hi, my loves. So I got a bunch of DMs, multiple, on knee pain. One was a fracture and the others were just on general knee pain. So I can't help but to think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that we are sitting, okay? I've said it before, the knee is a slave to the hips and the ankles. So we're gonna go through some cars for your knees and some pails and rails for your hips. Because if your hips are tight and you're sitting, your knees are going to take the brunt of what's going on. Because when you do get up, your hips will be tight, and so now your knee has to kind of move all over the place, and it's supposed to be stable. So when you don't have the mobility here, then the stability has to come from somewhere else. Or when you don't have the mobility in a place, then the joint above or below will have to take on that task. So these are my favorite. If you don't know what controlled articular rotations are, they are cars. I do them every morning. It's important that you take your joints through the full excursion range of motion, because if you don't and you are limited, as many of us with what's going on in one position, we're sitting all day, your hips and your knees and your ankles are going to get rid of that range of motion because it feels it doesn't need it. Our bodies are made for survival, and they are made to use the least amount of energy, to conserve energy, or to use the least amount. So if it feels like, okay, well, I don't want to waste my time using this movement or providing energy for this movement when I don't move there. So it's just going to take away that range of motion, period, if you're not moving around. So this is why it's important for us to get up and walk, to squat down instead of sitting. So all these different things so that you can reintroduce and just keep telling your body, it's okay, I need to go through these ranges of motion. So anyway, for the knee pain, the one with the fractured knee, you can go through these ranges of motion. It's fine. Again, go to your pain tolerance. If it hurts, just back off a little bit and then start from there. But the goal is the next time, try to go a little further and a little further and a little further until you're able to go through the sequence, okay? For everyone else, again, same thing, go to your pain tolerance. So this is one of my favorites. There's many ways of doing it. I like this one because what happens is if you do have a stiff hip, or if you don't know how to disassociate your hip from your knee, and it kind of tends to mesh into one big thing, you put your leg almost in a headlock or arm bar, however you want to say it. So this arm goes underneath here, this one comes on top. So I like doing this because it kind of locks my hip in a good position, and it prevents me from moving my hip around, and so I get to just solely focus on my knee. So these are super simple. You're going to bring your foot up and out, and then you bring the knee up, okay? Then I'm gonna turn my foot in and come back down. Out, up, in. So some people are super mobile, or flexible, I should say, and they don't. We're gonna go in the opposite direction. So now we're gonna go in, out, down. Turn your foot in, out, down, in, out, down, in, And now the way you know you're moving your knee is that when you're moving it, if you want to see if your shin is moving along. So you'll see your shin, if I move my ankle, should go along for the ride, and that lets me know that I'm using my knee. So that's super helpful. The other one that I want to do as far as the hips, again, you can do 5 on each side. Take your time, create as much tension as you can. You want to do, we say irradiate. So irradiate is creating internal tension. We are doing essentially an isometric contraction. So you're holding it. You should know what that feels like, as if you go to push against something, and that force that you're creating, that internal tension, that's what that is. So you're gonna do the same thing with your knee, almost as if the air is thick, and when you're pushing up, right, you're fighting through that resistance. So I'm gonna come up, fight, 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 fight. And this is where the control comes in, because if you don't have control over your joints, that's how you get hurt. So there are people who are super flexible. They can do a split. They can, touch, put their leg over their head. But do you know how to control it? Because that's when the injuries happen. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna go into a 90-90 position for the hips, okay? So 90-90 is basically the front of your leg is in a 90 position, and so is the back. Usually the heel of the front foot will be right at the knee of the back leg, okay? So that's how so hence 90 and 90. And so and then you also want the back leg, you want the ankle and the knee to be vertical, okay? So with this, we can start off just with the simple stretch. You wanna put air into your belly, keep it tight, right? And then you can come and you're just gonna lean forward, and you're gonna get that stretch, okay? And come back up, okay? Move forward. And push yourself up. We're just doing this passively. Some people like to put their arms behind their head. That's fine too, if you have that. Push up. Now the real work, we're gonna be working the back leg, okay? So 90, right? Here, hopefully you guys can see. Now, if you can't go 90, if you're feeling a pinching in your knee, then in your hip, you can sit back a little bit to kind of open it up, and that's fine, and just find where you're comfortable. If you lean in, you might want to come to the side. I'm okay with that. You don't want any pinchy closing angle joint feeling in there. That's okay, but just kind of make sure you can mess around with going up with the top a little bit, and make sure this is at 90. If you need to back off, it's okay, but the goal is to make sure that everything is within 90 degrees. Now, you're gonna come here. If you need to lean in, that's fine. If you come back, it's gonna open up the hip a little bit more, but go where you feel most comfortable. I don't want you like hunched over. Don't arch the back. Create tension here, and we're gonna come here, and then you're gonna open up this back leg, okay? And bring it back, down, open up, and bring it back down, okay? Open up, and we're working through these ranges. Open up, and just focus that mind-muscle connection. You want to feel it in the joint. If you start to cramp, if it feels like a pulling, not a pinching, more of a pulling, like a cramp, normal. It's because your joint or the tissues around it are not used to working in that range of motion. So it's fine. Try to work through it. I promise it will get better. And control going down. Then from there, you can do 5 of those. You can, if you need to lean forward, that's fine. If you want to come here, that's fine. If you have a better range of motion, the further back you go, the harder it is to lift this back leg. So if you need to lean in a little bit, I'm okay with that. But I want you to try to lift that back leg up and back down. All right, I don't know if you can see that. Hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and back down. You need to come in a little bit, lean to the side. I'm okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it back down. Bring it back up. Hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly bring it back. Lift it up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and back down. So you're gonna do that on the other side. This is to help open up the hips, work those different ranges of motion, and the knee, okay? So again, you guys are hitting me up for knee pain, and it's probably because you're sitting, and that's a lot of pressure on your knee. So the goal is just movement. Again, if you don't use it, you lose it. All right, as always, besos, blessings, and stay home.